So one day, this tall man with a big baritone walks up to me at the Institute of Economic Affairs and says, I have an offer for you that you cannot refuse. Komla Dumor had his broad smile, typical and traditional. He said, listen, Robert, I have just gained admission to Harvard. I'll be leaving the Super Morning Show for 2 years. It's the biggest platform as far as radio or media is concerned in Ghana. Take it. It may well be your destiny. It will lead you to greatness. I was confused. I said, Komla, apart from that, what's in this for me? He said, bro, what do you drive? I said, a Golf 2. He said, is it a type with the round lights? I said, yes. It's the end of that story. You get a BMW 3 Series. I said, wow. How much you earn? I said, oh, Komla, I can't tell you that. You get a fat salary to go with it. And you have access to everybody who's anybody in this country. That was tempting. That was alluring. Who wouldn't want that? I said, Komla, I'm afraid I can't accept your offer. I said, you must be kidding. I said, I really can't. Because my dream as a child was to become a lawyer. I've watched too much L.A. Law not to be like Blair Underwood or Harry Hamlin. Nicely dressed, spruced up with pocket squares to go with it. And I'd always tell my mother that don't show me those British movies. I don't like those lawyers who stand at one spot. I like the American style. I like to be able to stroll around whilst I make my case. Sometimes, even my shoes can speak for me. So I said, Komla, I can't take it. I cannot. He said, but Robert, you have a degree. And yes, I did. He said, a first-class honors degree at that. I said, true. But it's not a law degree. So do the Super Morning Show for 2 years and go to law school. I said, no. I didn't take it. I didn't take it because my pride was wounded at that time. Nobody cares that I wrote most of my A-level papers at Achimota Hospital. In fact, a lot of my mates don't even remember. Nobody cares that I missed the cutoff point to go to the Faculty of Law narrowly. Nobody cares. But I had a charge to keep to become a lawyer. I was ready to say no to the Super Morning Show of Komla Dumor's time just to go to the Faculty of Law. You know, I could have done law as a first degree, actually, despite the fact that I missed the cutoff point. Because a friend of mine said, let's go and see the professors at the faculty. They just may, say, well, yeah. You never know. So we did. We actually went to the faculty and met a professor. And my friend spoke for me. He told my story. He said, this man is bright. Everybody knows that. He wasn't well during A-levels and X and Y and Z. The professor said, okay, here's the trick. If your O-level maths and your O-level English add up to 6, we'll take you. Well, mathematics, you're talking about me. I had a grade 5. But thankfully, I had a grade 1 in English language. So that was my 6. And he said, come back tomorrow, let's go through the process. I was so excited. We went back with this friend to another friend. We said, hey, believe it or not, I've been admitted. I'm going to the law faculty. Friend says, but if they have a cutoff point and you didn't get it, why are you trying to use a back door to go to the law faculty? My pride was so wounded, I didn't go back to the law faculty. I didn't. I did not go back the following day. I went to the political science department and registered and said, I'll do 3 years of this and go to the law faculty in my own time on my own strength and on merit. So Komla Dumor came at the wrong time. A charge to keep I had. And I was already on radio anyway. Of course, admittedly, it was nowhere near Komla Dumor's show, but I was on radio. I've always had those two interests and those two streams running. During the show, there was a day I had an interview with Chachu Chikata. And I disagreed with him on a legal point. At that time, I was not yet a lawyer. After the show, he called me to the office of the general manager. He said, young man, listen to me. You have to become a lawyer. If you can reason that way, even as a non-lawyer, that's your place. And then there was another day where there was an event. Big boys were up the high table. I was down there. Nana Santi Bedietio was one of the big boys. Here comes an argument made by a Yale graduate on the Constitution. I raised my hand. I said, I disagree with you, sir, respectfully. Halfway through my submissions, Nana Santi Bedietio gets up and says, hey, go to law school. So all those things put together made the Super Morning Show look too small in my eyes at that time. There was a bigger charge for me. And I had to become Blair Underwood and wear pocket squares. So I went to the law school with a vengeance, believe me. And this is another thing that informed the vengeance. First degree, we're registering to go to the hall. We're standing next to people who were mentioning fantastic grades. A's strung together. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this guy that I was just discussing with got better grades than me. That was my rethink moment about my studies. I realized that I was always shortchanging myself. I would pass anyway, but I may not get the best grade because I didn't put in the best effort. So that was my rethink moment, to give it my best. And so, of course, I got the LLB. I was the best graduating law student. I moved on to the Ghana School of Law. Thankfully, I got 4 prizes on the occasion when we were called to the bar. And then Solomon Kwame Tete stretches his hands when he was giving me one of the last prizes and says, Mr. Clegg, is it media or law? I said, it's law. But I didn't mean it. Because these 2 streams have always been running through me. And that was another rethink moment for me. You are either a lawyer or you're a media practitioner. I think you can straddle the 2. And that is what I continue to do. Rethinking the fine lines. We shouldn't have fine lines as far as I'm concerned. And that's the reason I do this. So my kind of media, which I practice, is one which is based on expertise. I say to myself all the time that there's no reason why the people we admit to our journalism schools must be those who could not make it to the traditional universities. It doesn't make sense to me. Because the media will forever, whether it's in social media or mainstream media, be the heartbeat of any society. When a budget is read, it's at the media point that we even get to hear it on television or in the newspapers. It's in the media that we hear analysis of it. It's in the media that we hear what the presidential candidates are vying for. Why then should the media be participated in by people who those on the outside feel superior to? So you sit in the class with that member of parliament, teach him, beat him, and then when it's time for him to analyze an issue, he should come to you as the host, where he's already scared that you expose him. That is how this media will then take center stage as it should. All right? And so that is my calling, I believe. That is what I believe in. And that is why I am still at this all the time. That is what we must do. And so this rethink of the media must occur in all of us, in all our minds. How much logic do you know? How much economics do you know? How much business do you understand? Discuss it on radio tomorrow. Post something on Twitter tomorrow. That is media practice. You don't have to be called a media person, strictly or properly so called, to participate. That is how we develop this nation. So we feed you. We give you things. But if there is a Supreme Court ruling or there's some legal understanding, I should be able to say it in a minute on my show so everybody gets it, so we move. It's not every day that we have to call somebody and ask them questions for 3 hours and they spew jargons that you and I don't even understand. So that's the rethink of the media that I'm thinking about. That's my understanding, and that's why I'm participating in it. You didn't invite me here because I went to Achimota School. You didn't. At some point, I told myself that I would not do the media anymore. And that was the time I won this award. Television Current Affairs Host of the Year 2012. I said, that's it. I've paid my dues. So let me leave. It's done. So be it. Until the epiphany. I was admitted to Harvard Law School for my master's degree. When we got there and were being welcomed, the president of Harvard and the dean said, we have in our midst 4 students from Wall Street. We have in our midst 3 people from here. We have that. And we also have a television host. I was the only television host. Another rethink moment. So I was supposed to have said goodbye. And yet at Harvard Law School, they were citing a television host as an example. That's the importance of the media. I came there as a television host. So I said, listen, that's the epiphany. Let's open it up. There's something more there than we see about this space. In our country, we disregard the media a bit too much. It's the heartbeat, it's the melting pot of what we do. And so I told myself, I will go back to this. And as I said, you didn't invite me here, even for going to the University of Ghana or for going to Harvard Law School. I was invited here simply because of the power of the microphone. I speak into it 4 hours every morning. It's the only reason I'm here. You never considered Harvard. You never considered Achimota. You never considered anything else. That's the strength of the media. So I'm appealing to all of us. That rethink is important. This is the time. Can you imagine if you woke up tomorrow and there was no radio dial active, that there was no newspaper for you, that there was no social media? What would happen to all the expertise that you claim to have outside of the media? It will be left to you. I am still a lawyer. I am happy to call myself a corporate lawyer. I trained one at that. But I cannot limit all my abilities to a small room where I have a judge, where I bow in the morning and say, my Lord, and say, hold on, sit down, I'm not ready for you, and things like that. When, as a matter of fact, I can get all of you listening to me tomorrow, and I can get all of you listening to somebody who knows something that I don't know, that you do not know, so we can aggregate our views and become better as a people. Let's rethink. It's the media. Thank you.